Hello, Wazwar here, and today we're going to be doing another tier list. This one is going to be centered around which skills are the best to train on DXP weekend, as Jagex has recently announced a DXP weekend coming on August 7th. There are a lot of factors to consider when making this tier list, including the unlocks the skills provide, the cost of training it, what changes on DXP weekend, and much more to really get an accurate ranking. We will be going alphabetically through them, so that means we're going to be starting off with agility. Agility is a weird one to rank because actually training the skill is not worth it for your DXP time, as if you're trying to get 75 agility for Prif, you are likely going to be doing the Wilderness Agility course, and a lot of people like to troll on DXP weekend, so there are a large number of PKers during that time, so you might actually end up losing time. And past 75, it's perfectly viable to use Silverhawk's Feathers to 99. On that note, the time to train promotion always comes out with DXP, which makes Silverhawk Feathers crash so hard. Usually I can get them at like 17 or 18,000. So something that you can actively use throughout your entire 48 hours without absolutely breaking the bank. And with that, agility ends up with A tier. Archaeology is still on the embargo period of 6 months, so it goes right into F as it's like you're training it on a regular day. However, once the embargo period is over, I can see it coming up to an A tier as you're able to bank your artifact, but it's tough to bank artifact unless you're already 120, as you want to make artifacts to get to the next level of artifacts so you can then bank those artifacts. So it's definitely going to be a skill worth training on DXP weekend, but not squarely the best. Next up, we have attack, the first combat skill. And for brevity, I'm going to group them all together here as they are essentially the same reason. Training combats is supposed to be an opportunity to get you to make money. And when you cut that amount of time in half, you're just going to end up having to do more combat later to make the money needed for your others' levels and gear. This drops it down to a C tier as it's not great, but it's also not terrible as max combat is a pretty high requirement for PVMing. Let's just drag the main combat skills all into the C tier. Cooking is our first artisan skill, which by its nature makes it seem like it's a good skill to train on DXP weekend. However, due to the low cost, sometimes profit nature of the skill, it's best to do this skill off of DXP weekend as prices are usually more stable and you're more likely to not have to spend money. And stocking up for 48 hours worth of cooking supplies takes more than a pretty penny, and if you have that kind of money, you should be spending it on other skills instead. This drops it down to C overall, as that's kind of are not terrible, but you have much better things to do during DXP weekend level. Construction is an A tier skill and one of the most popular skills to train during DXP weekend due to how annoying it is to train. However, the lack of notable unlocks drags it down to A tier as the difference between 99 construction and 50 construction is incredibly small. Basically, the only difference is if you have Maxscape. I would still suggest training this skill on DXP weekend, especially for those on a budget, as mahogany planks are not that expensive and stocking up for a lot of hours of them won't absolutely break your bank. Crafting goes right into the S tier as it's expensive. It provides extremely useful unlocks, notably Invention at level 80, and it can be really fast so you feel like you get more done on DXP weekend, which gets those dopamine levels up. Next up, we have Divination, which is our first gathering skill, well, after Archaeology, and it's going to be the highest ranked one at C. Gathering skills as a whole shouldn't be trained on DXP as they are usually AFK and zero cost or profit, meaning that you should instead focus on the artisan or support skills instead, but Divination has something special. Before DXP starts, you can get an inventory filled with memory jars ready to be dumped. That way, when you first log into DXP, you can dump your memory jars and get a sweet about 200,000 Divination experience in the first minute or so of DXP. Then you can move on and spend your other 47 hours and 58 minutes on other skills. If you do that every DXP weekend, with how they're being about 4 times a year now, you can really stack up some Divination experience without putting that much effort in. Dungeoneering is another C tier skill in that sort of, if you have nothing better to do, do this skill. And that's because Dungeoneering as a whole is not that popular, so it's going to be pretty tough for you to find a group of 5 people to do larges with. But if you're able to get a group of about 4 or 5 people that want to commit to doing a lot of dungeoneering, it's actually a great way to spend part of your DXP weekend, but you don't want to be leaving after every floor and spending 5 to 10 minutes of your DXP time focusing on trying to find a group, as that just ends up wasting a lot of time. So that puts it squarely in the C tier. Farming is also an S tier skill. The fact that you can pre-plant trees and the like before DXP weekend, and also use instant growth potions to get insane amounts of experience per hour makes it one of the best skills to train. It should be noted that player-owned farms and ranch out of time animals do not get doubled on DXP, but all the other parts of the skill do. So use up your excess beans on instant growth potions and get some gains. Fire making is a very May skill on DXP. You're looking at really cheap AFK buyable that has okay experience per hour. This would be the skill I would train if I felt the need to AFK and still had some fire making to get done. On top of that, you can also do curly roots to combo train fire making and wood cutting together, but the competition could be a problem on DXP weekend as it can be quite popular. I'm slotting this in as a solid B. Fishing is the first of the D rank gathering skills, and I'm going to pick them all up at this point as they all have the same reasoning. AFK and cost very little to train or can be trained with other methods. Fishing and woodcutting with divine locations and mining with warbands. Even if you need to AFK, find another skill to train like the aforementioned fire making. Fletching is another fast buyable skill, however it's low cost, ease of training, and the fact that fletching can be trained virtually anywhere. It's perfect for when you wait for other people to go group PVM. Makes it less valuable to train on DXP in comparison with the other buyables. However, it's still a buyable and it's still a fast skill, so it's a solid B. Herblore can just go right into the S tier. If double S tier existed, it would be up there alone. Herblore unlocks so much of the content in the game as overloads are the single greatest upgrade an account can unlock. Thus, any boss past the release of Herblore is balanced around the player having overloads on them, making it very tough to do any sort of new content without them. Usually I would make the amount of overloads or adrenaline potions I would need for the next DXP weekend once I was 99 or 120, which is a good way to slowly train Herblore without feeling like you're breaking the bank every DXP weekend. And slowly over time you'll get to 20, 30, 40, 50 mil XP, and then eventually you'll be like, oh, I'm already there and it didn't even cost me that much. Hunter is probably the toughest skill to rank. It's very powerful on DXP weekend as you can use the limited currency of protean traps to help train your hunter at carrion Jadinkos. These Jadinkos can be done as low as 78 with an extreme hunter potion and give about 2 mil XP per hour on DXP weekend. That all sounds nice and dandy, but because hunter is a competitive skill, every single world is filled with at least one person and sometimes two. And if there's a second person, you might as well just do it off of DXP. However, if you wait till the very end of DXP, the majority of people who would grind out Hunter and AFK all day long with these protean traps are already done with the 48 hours, so you're much less likely to run into an issue of finding the world. I ended up doing that on my minimal maxing account over 2 DXP weekends to get 99 Hunter. With that all in mind, it goes into B as another solid B. Prayer might be my most controversial placement at D, but I think it's the right spot. The only part of the skill that works on prayer is cleansing crystal, and even on DXP, cleansing crystals are pretty slow in comparison with other methods. Really, the only time you should be doing cleansing crystals on DXP weekend is if you have every other relevant PVM unlock, overloads, invention, and 99 summoning, and you don't have the GP to do something like Iron Bones at a Gilded Altar or the Wilderness Altar once DXP is over or before DXP starts. Past that, you should skip the skill and focus on another more important unlock. Below 95 prayer, you can use the Leech Curses with Amulet of Zealots to still get a lot of damage out of the prayers that you do have unlocked. Runecrafting is another really low ranked as it's going right into F, and it's for one reason and one reason only, the Demonic Skull. It already gives you a 350% XP boost to runecrafting when running through the Abyss. So that boost is only increased to 450% during DXP, which just isn't worth it. While rune span is doubled, it really shouldn't be used, as multiple mils per hour can be made as low as 44 runecrafting, and even doing stuff like air or fire runes at low levels, you can bank some money there. If you make Nature's, Astrals, and Blood runes all the way to 90 or 99, you will have most of the money you need to do all your other skills, as you just get so much GP per XP, and going all the way to 99 can net you close to 500 mil. So you don't want to shorten that time on DXP weekend, as you'll just end up losing money. Slayer is another competitive skill, as none of the Slayer monsters are instant, so you're going to run into a lot more people training Slayer during DXP weekend. But while you're training Slayer, you're making money and also getting your combats up. I consider this a skill to train if you have nothing else to do or no money to spend on other skills, which puts it into the C tier rank with all the other stuff there. I'm just going to move Slayer to the front here because I think it's training Slayer is better than training an individual combat, but it's not that much better that it's worth going up to B tier. Smithing is another S tier skill, and it's here due to the sheer cost and speed of the skill. When training smithing with Elder Rune Burial armors, you can get up to 3 to 4 mil XP per hour if you have all the boosts working for you, which is, putting it bluntly, insane. The problem is that you're also spending 20 GP per XP off of DXP weekend, but once the weekend hits, you can get up to 7 to 8 mil XP per hour and only about 10 GP per XP, which is wonderful, and going from 100 mil to 120 in 30 minutes will get you a lot of WTF PMs and people wondering how you trained it so quickly. Summoning is going to be our last S tier skill, and its inclusion in the list is pretty simple. You can gather charms not during DXP and then spend your charms during DXP. This means you can get up to 99 summoning relatively quickly and start working on your other skills with the remaining time. The Taverly method can get you a consistent 12,000 pouches used per hour, so if you have all the materials pre-bought, you're looking at 1 to 2 hours to get from, let's say, 70 up to 99, which is, again, very nice and should be done assuming you have the charms and GP to spend on it. Thieving is our last skill, and it goes in at D, and while it's a support skill, its reasoning aligns with the gathering skills. It's no cost. Well, you do make a slight profit training it, and while there is no competition at high level thieving, the highest level safes are in the wilderness, so your chances of PK'd goes up drastically on DXP. As a whole, there's just so many better things to do. There's 28 skills in this game and one of the worst. So just do something else. I also didn't rank Invention because Invention is a skill you just train by doing other skills, but it should be noted that the research that you do at the blueprint is 1.5 times on DXP. So if you have any excess blueprints that you haven't done yet, go ahead and unlock those during DXP weekend, as it can help you get a big boost, especially in that like 90-ish range. You can go like 90 to like 95 pretty quickly without too much hassle or effort. So that's going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed my tier list and my reasoning behind my selections. If you have any big disagreements, please leave them in the comments down below. The last video, there was a lot of discussion, and admittedly, I probably did get the aggression sigil wrong, and it should have been considerably higher due to the fact that it instantly aggroes monsters instead of waiting and proccing every once in a while. So it's low cost on top of the fact that it can help you out a lot, makes it much better than what I gave it credit for. Catch you in the next one. If you like the videos I'm producing, please subscribe. If you like this video, like it. It really helps me out and getting the video out to more people and recommended to more people. So thank you and have a good one.